This is a continuation of information about Chapter 15. Uh, Chapter 15 begins classical style. In the Baroque period, the aim of the arts was to move the emotions. The aim of the classicism was to construct an ideal version of life and nature in tune with Enlightenment goals of realism, restraint, harmony, and order. Classical style, the big names that come to mind are Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. Classical style was elegant and clear and simple and balanced, naturalistic, formalism without frivolity, and compositional unity. Monody is an ode sung by one voice, as in a Greek tragedy, or an elegy or dirge performed by one person. So it's sung by one voice for sure. Predecessors or pre-classical or proto-classical, which would be Baroque or in between what's going from Baroque to classical, had a loss of basso continuum and monody. Remember, monody is an ode sung by one voice or a dirge. It began with the precursors to classical, so you're in between Baroque and classical, where the elegant style of the French court or the German Empfind, F-I-N-D, Samkeit. Samkeit. Or a sentimental overlapping, it was sentimental and overlapped with the dense contrapunctional high Baroque. That's the German precursor to classical. The classical idea of art and music was affecting and hopefully improving moral character. Vocal music was suited to emotional styles. Emotional expression, while instrumental styles was suited to formalism and musical reason. You saw moving away from the nationalistic styles that we saw in Baroque toward more cosmopolitan or universal styles. There was less ornamentation, in universal style, less ornamentation, periodic phrases with bits of repeated texts. They were more similar, and the rhythm became slower and more natural, like natural speech. There was a shift away from complicated and often contrapunctional style. The melodies were often quite sophisticated and memorable, which was due to their imitation of syntactic punctuation. In other words, a motive that periodically phrased with periodically phrased themes. That was the motive that led to periodically phrased themes that kept repeating. Cadences were frequent and predictable. First a half cadence, then an authentic cadence. That makes the harmonic rhythm noticeably slower in classical music compared to its Baroque predecessors. In society, there was a radical shift in the way people interacted, and in politics and in economics. Strong centralized nation states, with meanwhile countries like France and the newly formed United States, broke from those traditional absolutist monarchies and developed democratic republics. The Industrial Revolution began as early as 1712 with the first steam engine. The middle class grew, and there was also an emerging industrial upper class. Rationalism and individual experience were important. It was the age of reason, but there were overcrowded and polluted in industrial cities. When we get to different kinds of opera, there was comic opera, was more of an everyday people with its local and national styles, using a vernacular language and simplicity of form and drama. Opera seria is an Italian was about Italian nobles with serious style of Italian opera, and it predominated from 1710 to 1770. That's opera seria. Comic opera, I think, was more French, but I'd have to look that up. Comic opera was more about everyday people, local styles, using regular language, simplicity. And the simplicity was often about ordinary people. But opera seria is still Italian, noble Italians in serious style. Periodicity or periodic phrase structures broken into regular phrases that ended in cadences. It was periodicity or periodic phrase structures. Alberti bass, which I remember, was rhythmic repulsed arpeggiation of a harmony, usually triad or seventh chords. In the bass harmony, it was simplistic, homophonic, and harmonic rhythm is considerably slower than Baroque rhythms. Opera buffa is a form of comic opera that was sung with a cast of both comic and serious characters, down-to-earth plots and dramatic themes. An intermezzo was another form of comic opera that was traditionally used as an interlude between acts or more extensive dramatic works. Opera comica, French opera, often using spoken dialogue instead of recitative in popular tunes, like instead of recitative. They would have spoken opera, and instead of recitative, they would use popular tunes like vaudevilles or new compositions, arietas. Singspiel was German comic opera with spoken dialogue. Beginning to think comic opera just has spoken dialogue, and I am actually going to look at that. I don't know what that's all about. Comic opera. What does Google say? Comic operas. Usually humorous plots. I was thinking that comic characters, happy endings. Not always a happy theme. If it contains spoken dialogue, it could also be classed as a type of comic opera. So spoken dialogue, usually comic, not always. So Singspiel is a German comic opera with spoken dialogue. Pergolesi, this is from chapter 15. La Serva Padrona is the operas we looked at, which is the maid as mistress, Italian comic opera, where she's trying to get the rich man. Johann Adolf Haas, the next person we looked at, he had a conservative continuum of opera seria in the classical area. Heroic themes, grandiose characters, high drama, alters between challenging da capo arias and recitative dialogues. It was defense of the status quo by representing rulers that are merciful and enlightened. So that is somewhat of a change. Christopher Wilbur Gluck, operatic reform. It's often credited with the most compelling, so it says Gluck, reform dramatic opera. De-emphasized the roles of divas and the da capo opera. It had a naturalness and a dramatic continuity, accompanied recitative, dramatic action during arias, duets and ensembles in lieu of solo arias, unified scenes of choruses and dancing served the plot, elegance and simplicity of classical style. The one thing we listened to, which was an excerpt from the Act 2, Scene 1, involved the dancing of the Furies. So that is William Bugall Gluck, and his opera was Orfeo and Eurydice, or Orfeo ed Eurydice. All right. Make sure that's saved and we could close that. And we're going to end there. And no, let's not end that one. We're only at 10 minutes. We're going to go on to chapter 16, which I have found. Okay, chapter 16. And I have to pull the outline up again. Where's the outline? Here we go. So we're going to go to the chapter 16 outline. All right. We haven't studied chapter 16 yet, although I'm sure they're going over it in class today to look at more over the weekend. Points of discussion and listening. And let's go to the listening. The first one we're going to listen to is Scarlatti's Sonata in D major, K119. I'd say no, Domenico, if you know it, Scarlatti, Sonata in D major. And let's listen to that. That's 113. I'm going to turn the sound volume up. I'm just going to see if that's quiet or if it's still so obnoxious. Let's try it at that. It's still obnoxious. That harpsichord or clavichord or whatever it is. Obnoxious. And that's Scarlatti. Too bad, because I'm sure they have better versions of that. The next one is Sammartini, an early symphony, Giovanni Battista Sam, which is a double M, Sam Martini. And we're going to listen to his Symphony in F major, number 32, the first movement, which says presto, but it doesn't sound like presto. And that's 15. All right. Let's go back and hear that one. Turn the volume up again. So pay attention to that first part. Da, 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 and then it sounds like a fourth or fifth lower. Da, da, da. And then it goes into something else. Again. I think there's another one that's similar that is a little different though, but it sounds somewhat similar, so you got to be able to differentiate. This one is Sammartini. Look at that again. Sammartini's Symphony in E flat. No, I think I got the wrong one. Here it is. Sammartini Symphony in F major. It says number 32, but let's look on that. It's the first movement and it's a presto. I'm wondering if it gets to presto. There's a repeat. So you got to look at sonata form, I believe. That's a sonata. No, it's a symphony. It says presto, but I don't hear the presto. Okay, let's move on. The next one is Stamitz, Johann Stamitz, number 116. Oh, I'm sorry. Symphonia in E flat major, Opus 2, number 3, the first movement, which is an Allegro Assai. So it's Symphonia in E flat major, Allegro Assai, and it's from Opus 2, number 3. Let's listen to that. that beginning dot, 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 and there's a repeat of dot, dot, dot. Let's listen to that again. Again, this is, I gotta get, Johann Stamitz, Symphonia in E-flat major, Allegro A-S-S-A-I, Assase, Allegro Assase, Symphonia, which must be symphony, in E-flat major. It's Opus 2, number 3, Johann Stamitz. So da 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 da. You hear those repeat, repeat, repeat. Again, that was a symphony by Johann Stamitz, Symphonia in E-flat major, Opus 2, number 3, the first movement, Allegro Assase. Allegro Assase. It's very repetitive. Listen to it. Again, that was a symphony by Johann Stamitz, Symphonia in E-flat major, Opus 2, number 3, the first movement, Allegro Assase. And let's go on to the next one. The next one is a sonata by Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach. Sonata in A major, H186, yeah, right. The second movement, Poco Adagio. A sonata, Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, one of the sons. Sonata in A major. It's the second movement, Poco Adagio. And let's listen to that one, which was number 114. So you hear that minor? Again, that's Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach. It's a sonata. It's called Sonata in A major. It's the second movement, Poco Adagio. And again, listen to the minor sound there. Da 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 da. Again, that's Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, Sonata in A major. It's a sonata. The second movement, Poco Adagio. And again. Hear it repeated, maybe a fifth higher. Anyway, we're going to go back to, that's likely, again, all of these are very repetitive. The next one is a concerto by Johann Christian Bach. It's a concerto for harpsichord or piano and strings. So it's a concerto for keyboard and strings, harpsichord or piano, and strings, in E-flat major. Opus 7, number 5, It's the first movement, Allegro di molto. Concerto by Johann Christian Bach. It's a concerto for harpsichord or piano and strings. It's an E-flat major. It's the first movement, Allegro di molto. Johann Christian Bach concerto, harpsichord or piano and strings in E-flat major. The first movement, Allegro di molto. And let's take a listen to that. And what's that? That was number 170. You hear that bass in the piano? And that sounds like a piano, not a harpsichord. Let's go back and listen again. You hear that bass? Da, 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 da. I think it might be the same in the chord. Yeah, I think it is. And then what's these strings doing? Sounds like an ascending. Da, 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 da. Let's listen to that again. Something very similar. Again, that's Johann Christian Bach Concerto for harpsichord or piano and strings in E flat major. It's the first movement, Allegro di molto. It's not really slow. I guess it's not fast. And that, listen for the piano in the bottom, very low bass, and then an ascending strings. Oops, start at the beginning. Okay. And then we are, so that was Johann Christian Bach, Concerto for Harpsichord or Piano, and Strings in E flat major. It's the first movement, Allegro di molto, M-O-L-T-O. And let's take a look at what's next. Oh, that was it for that chapter. Maybe we should start listening to chapter 17. Oh, doesn't want to turn up the, let's move this back. Maybe he doesn't have it up there yet, knowing him. I don't seem to be able to turn up chapter 17. He may not have anything up there. Oh yeah, I can turn it up on PDF. Okay. Then he goes into Sonata Allegro form. Okay. Ooh, lots of technical things. We begin to look at Haydn. Listening, okay. 119, A, B, C, and D. Okay, so we're going to be listening to Haydn Symphony number 88. Where's the bottom of this thing? Oh, yikes. There we go, okay. So the first ones we're listening to are Haydn. Oh, I know what I'm looking for. I can't see the whole thing. There we go. Won't come up with the whole thing. No, it will. But I'm going to have to keep changing that. Okay, so Haydn, this is a symphony by Haydn, symphony number 88 in G major. The first piece we're going to listen to is an Adagio Allegro. Okay, Adagio Allegro, which has an, okay, I don't want that. I want this. Let's just put that down there. That's number 119A. 119A. So that's likely the Adagio introduction to the Allegro. So it has an Adagio introduction. Let's listen to that again. Again, this is Haydn Symphony number 88 in G major. hear that really quiet? So it's like a question and an answer. Big exclamation, and then somebody repeats it quietly, or parts of it quietly. And let's go back and listen to more of it. So again, this is Haydn, Symphony Number 88 in G major, and this is the Adagio Allegro. A lot of repeating. So that's the introduction, I think. And then the Allegro. Let's go back through that introduction one more time. Again, this is Haydn Symphony Number 88 in G major. This is the Adagio. Adagio Allegro. So what? Exclamation, and a little tiny answer. Exclamation, a little tiny answer. So that's kind of what's going on with that part of that. So we're going to listen now to the same thing, Haydn Symphony Number 88 in G major. This is the Largo, which has a theme and variation form. They don't like you. I kept pretty much failing those parts. I guess a few. So still a lot of that louder, softer stuff. You can hear that kind of motive theme. Here's a variation, I think. Hear the little ornamentation in there? Same theme though, huh? So that is Haydn's Symphony Number 88 in G major. That's the one we're looking at. That's the Largo theme and variation. Let's just listen to the beginning again. I'd have to see that on paper. I can't understand what's going on in it. And then Minuetto Still Haydn's Symphony Number 88 in G major. This is the minuetto part. It's a composite ternary form made up of two rounded binary forms. Two rounded binary forms must be A, B. But it must have an A, B, C. Let's listen to that. So Haydn again. This is minuet. There's a repeat. Sounds the same. Let's go a little ahead and see if we hear something different. This must be the second part, binary, tertiary, I think it's a ternary. Two rounded binary forms. This must be the second one. Lots of luck on recognizing that. Let's go back to the beginning and see if there's anything significant. Repeat. That's the repeat of it. So let's go ahead a little bit. Went ahead. Still part of the first part. Still part of the first part. So it's still part of the first part. It's still A. Sounds a little different. This is certainly different. That's the B part, huh? I wonder if it returns to A. Yeah, and it returns to A. So it must be a return to A, and I'll have to look that form up. All right. And then, whoops. I want to just do that one. The last one is the finale, Allegro con Spirito, Sonata Rondo form. This is the Sonata Rondo form. Again, I'm going to have to review all those forms. Let's see, that's the still Haydn's Symphony Number 88 in G major. Let's do that again. It's a repeat. like that one. Okay. So that was Haydn. So these are different forms. I had to go and look up the forms. Then they do another Haydn string quartet in E flat major. We're going to do two parts of this and stop there. This is E flat major, Opus 33. Opus 33, where is that? Number 2, The Joke. Lots of numbers here. String quartet in E flat major. This is Opus 33. It's number 2, The Joke, or string quartet in E flat major, The Joke. The first part we're looking at is Allegro Moderato. It says cantable, so song like Allegro Moderato. 118. That must be A. A. Allegro Moderato. Franz Joseph Haydn. String quartet in E flat major, The Joke. Very song-like, and we have to go back and review all the forms over the weekend, or I can't understand these. The second one is a Scherzo Allegro from Haydn, string quartet in E flat major, The Joke. Scherzo Allegro. Repeat. Okay, so that's enough for now.